Imagine your life as a battlefield, and your greatest enemy is not out there but inside your own mind. You want to move forward, but your thoughts keep dragging you back. This is overthinking, a silent poison that disguises itself as preparation but in truth chains you to fear. You convince yourself that you are being careful, that you are weighing options, but what you are really doing is keeping fear alive. The Stoics understood this trap better than anyone. To them, the mind was a tool meant to provide clarity, not paralysis. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that life is shaped by the quality of our thoughts. But he did not mean endless loops of doubt and hesitation. He meant strong, clear reasoning that leads directly to action. Overthinking is cowardice dressed up as intelligence. It is avoidance disguised as wisdom. And if you are serious about freeing yourself, you must be harsh with your own mind. The first rule the Stoics give us is simple but ruthless. Separate what is within your control from what is not. Almost all overthinking comes from mixing the two. You waste hours replaying scenarios that no amount of thought will change, while neglecting the things that actually demand your action. The mind spirals because it refuses to accept limits. But clarity comes the moment you draw the line. What is in my power? What is outside my power? Everything that is not in your power is dead weight. Drop it without hesitation. Everything that is in your power demands action. Take it immediately. That is the battlefield discipline the Stoics lived by. Imagine a soldier in war who wastes his time worrying about the weather, the size of the enemy's army, or the shape of the terrain. None of these are in his hands. His only duty is to sharpen his sword, hold the line and fight when the order comes. In the same way, your only duty is to act on what belongs to you. Overthinking dies when clarity lives. Yet as harsh as this sounds, the mind still resists. It whispers questions. What if this happens? What if I fail? What if I lose everything? This is the second Stoic rule. Embrace the worst-case scenario. Epictetus taught that the fear of misfortune is worse than the misfortune itself. If you accept in advance the worst thing that can happen, fear loses its teeth. Overthinking thrives on uncertainty, on the endless what-ifs that have no end. But once you strip it bare, once you stare the worst outcome in the face and say, yes, I could survive even this, then your mind becomes free. Imagine you are afraid to start a business, afraid to speak, afraid to try. Ask yourself, what is the absolute worst that could happen? You fail, people laugh. You lose some money, some time, some comfort. And then what? You still breathe, you still stand, you still move forward. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the rehearsal of adversity. By imagining the storm before it arrives, they made themselves unshakable when it did. This practice is not meant to make you pessimistic. It is meant to liberate you. Because once you accept loss, failure, and hardship, they no longer control you. What else is left to fear? And if nothing is left to fear, why continue overthinking? Action becomes the only logical path. Fear is the chain. Acceptance is the key. Most people live as prisoners of what if. The idea, Stoic lives as a free man of even if I fail, I endure. Even if they laugh, I rise. Even if I lose, I rebuild. That is the mindset that kills overthinking at its root. You can already see how these first two rules cut deep. Control and acceptance. These two are the twin blades that slice through the endless fog of hesitation. With control, you focus only on your responsibilities. With acceptance, you disarm fear before it grows. Together, they leave the mind with no excuse, no escape, no hiding place. Overthinking tries to survive in the cracks, in the small gaps where you allow uncertainty to linger. But when you embrace the harsh clarity of Stoicism, there is no gap left. You are like a soldier who knows his duty and accepts his fate. Such a soldier does not wait, he acts. Such a mind does not stall, it moves. And once you train yourself to think this way, hesitation becomes unnatural, and action becomes your default. Overthinking is not destroyed by more thought. It is destroyed by discipline, by decisions, by courage. The Stoics never said life would be easy. They only said it would be simple if you lived by reason. And reason demands that you face life as it is, not as your fears imagine it. Separate control from chaos. Accept the worst before it comes. Then watch as your hesitation dies and your courage grows. This is the beginning of the Stoic path, not gentle, not comforting, but brutally effective. Because in the end, overthinking is not a problem of intelligence. It is a problem of courage. And courage is exactly what Stoicism was built to create. There is a brutal truth about overthinking that most people don't want to face. It is nothing more than wasted time disguised as wisdom. You tell yourself that you are preparing, that you are waiting for the right moment. But every second spent in hesitation is a second stolen from your life. Seneca said it clearly. It is not that life is short, but that we waste much of it. Overthinking is the greatest thief of all because it convinces you that waiting is safety, when in fact waiting is decay. Every day you sit trapped in thought is a day that never returns. This is why the Stoics demanded urgency. They treated time as their most sacred currency. You can lose money and earn it again, but time never comes back. To waste it in overthinking is to burn away the very substance of your existence. The third rule, then, is to put a deadline on your thoughts. Give yourself a window to analyze, but when that window closes, you must act. No excuses, no delay. You must train your mind to see decision as a battlefield where hesitation is death. The truth is, no decision will ever be perfect. There is no flawless path, no certainty that guarantees success. But flawed action still moves you forward, while endless thought leaves you rotting in place. The Stoics were not perfectionists. They were warriors of reason. They knew that life is a stream that never stops flowing, and if you hesitate too long, it carries you away. When you impose a deadline on your mind, you force yourself to respect the value of time, and in doing so, you break the chains of overthinking. But how do you silence the endless voice in your head that says you are not ready? The Stoics answered this with the fourth rule. Anchor yourself to principles, not emotions. Overthinking often comes from a storm of doubt and self-criticism. You wonder if you are good enough, if people will accept you, if the outcome will be worth it. The Stoics ignored such noise by living according to virtue, courage, justice, wisdom, and self-control. These were the only measures they used. If an action aligned with these values, it was right, and hesitation had no place. Imagine how simple life becomes when you strip it to this level. Should I speak the truth? Yes, because honesty is justice. Should I face this fear? Yes, because courage demands it. Should I control my impulses? Yes, because discipline is strength. Principles cut through confusion like a blade. They give you certainty where doubt thrives. And when you live by them, overthinking loses its fuel. Still, obstacles will rise and the mind will exaggerate them. This is the nature of hesitation, to make every problem appear larger than life until you feel crushed by its weight. The Stoics confronted this illusion with their most powerful weapon, perspective. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action, that what stands in the way becomes the way. The obstacle is not your enemy, it is your path. Overthinking convinces you that the obstacle must first disappear before you act. But Stoicism teaches that you act precisely because the obstacle exists. The resistance is what shapes you, strengthens you, and proves you. Just as muscles grow only by pushing against weight, your character grows by pushing against difficulty. The more you act in the face of obstacles, the less you fear them. And the less you fear them, the less you overthink. Think of the times you finally acted after long hesitation. How often was the problem as terrifying as your mind imagined? Almost never. The mind builds monsters from shadows. But the moment you shine the light of action, they vanish. This is why the Stoics insisted that reality must be faced directly. They stripped away the stories, the exaggerations, the what-ifs, and replaced them with the raw truth. This is what is before me, and this is how I will meet it. Obstacles are not excuses to delay. They are opportunities to prove your strength. And once you see them this way, your mind stops spinning in circles and starts sharpening itself for the fight. In the end, overthinking thrives on passivity. It feeds on silence, on waiting, on the absence of movement. The Stoic answer is relentless motion, guided not by panic but by principle. Time is slipping through your fingers whether you act or not. Every hesitation is a quiet surrender. Every delay a piece of your life lost forever. But when you set boundaries on your thoughts, when you anchor yourself to principles, when you treat obstacles as allies, you reclaim your power. You move from being a prisoner of hesitation to a commander of action. The harshness of Stoicism lies in this demand. Stop comforting yourself with the illusion of more time. There is no more time. The hourglass is draining and your doubts will not change that. Act while you still can, act while the chance still exists. Act while you still breathe. For inaction is the only true failure, and overthinking is its disguise. To live as a Stoic is to refuse that disguise, to face life directly, to choose action over endless thought. And in doing so, you begin to carve a life that is not wasted in hesitation, but forged in motion. And here is the paradox of Stoicism. The moment you stop waiting to feel prepared, the mind begins to quiet. Overthinking loses its grip because you have removed its fuel. Its fuel is delay, its fuel is doubt, Its fuel is the hope that you will someday be certain, but Stoicism burns that fuel away with harsh truths. You will die, time is short, obstacles are the way, discipline is your weapon. With these truths, there is no space left for endless thought. There is only clarity and motion. But do not confuse Stoic action with recklessness. To act does not mean to rush blindly into everything without thought. The Stoics still reasoned, but their reasoning had a limit, a boundary beyond which thought turned into poison. They analyzed, they clarified, they prepared, but then they acted without delay. This balance is the essence of wisdom, not to be careless, but also not to be paralyzed. The Stoic mind is like an archer. He aims carefully, but once the bowstring is pulled, he releases. He does not hold forever, waiting for a perfect moment, because he knows the perfect moment does not exist. The arrow must fly, or the archer has failed his duty. So must you. Your thoughts are the bow, but action is the arrow. Overthinking is the archer who never lets go and thus never hits anything. Stoicism demands that you aim with reason, accept what you cannot control, and then release with courage. The world does not reward endless hesitation. It rewards decisive action guided by virtue. When you live this way, your life changes in subtle but profound ways. The voices of doubt grow weaker, the obstacles shrink. The fear of failure transforms into fuel for growth. And every time you act, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your hesitation. This is how momentum is built. And momentum is the death of overthinking. The Stoics knew that once you start to live in motion, hesitation becomes foreign to you. It no longer feels natural to waste hours in worry when you have tasted the freedom of decisive living. And so the harsh Stoic rules come together as a weapon against the enemy within. Separate what you control from what you do not. Accept the worst before it arrives. Value your time as your greatest treasure. Anchor yourself to principles, not emotions. Turn obstacles into fuel. And above all, remember death. Together, these rules form a way of life that leaves no room for hesitation. They cut through doubt, they burn away excuses, and they turn the mind into a servant of action rather than a prison of fear. In the end, the Stoics remind you of something simple. You are not here to think forever. You are here to live. And living requires movement. So stop circling the same doubts. Stop clinging to the illusion of safety. Stop wasting the precious hours that will never return. Act with clarity, act with courage, act with discipline. For tomorrow is not promised. And the time to break free from overthinking is not later. It is now. You have heard the rules. You have seen the harsh truths that the Stoics lived by. And now the question is not whether you understand them, but whether you will live them. Overthinking is not destroyed by hearing wisdom. It is destroyed only by practicing it. Philosophy is useless if it remains in words. Epictetus said it best. Do not explain your philosophy, embody it. And this is where the test begins. The rules are simple. Control what you can, accept what you cannot, value your time, anchor yourself to principles. Use obstacles as fuel and remember death. Simple to say but hard to live. Yet this is the essence of Stoicism. Not comfort, not excuses, but the discipline to act in alignment with truth even when your feelings resist. Think about how much of your life has already been wasted in hesitation. How many opportunities slipped past you while you sat in the prison of thought? How many words went unspoken? How many chances unlived? How many dreams abandoned because you were waiting for the perfect moment? The Stoics would call this the greatest tragedy. Not death itself, but dying without ever having truly lived. Overthinking is not harmless. It is theft. It steals your days, your energy, your courage. And the cruel part is that it disguises itself as protection. You think you are safe when you overthink, but in truth you are bleeding away your life. If you want to break this pattern, you cannot be gentle with yourself. You must be harsh like the Stoics were harsh. You must cut away excuses with the same ruthlessness a surgeon uses to cut away disease. When your mind begins its endless chatter, you must silence it with clarity. When fear begins to whisper, you must drown it with acceptance. When doubt tries to chain you, you must break it with discipline. When obstacles rise, you must face them head on. And above all, you must remind yourself that the clock is always ticking. That every day wasted is a day gone forever. There is no reset, no second life, no replay. This is your chance and it will not last forever. But do not think the Stoics were superhuman. They too felt fear. They too felt hesitation. Marcus Aurelius admitted in his journals that each morning he struggled to rise from his bed, tempted by comfort. Epictetus lived as a slave before he became free. Seneca faced exile and betrayal. They were human like you. But the difference is that they refused to let fear rule them. They acted in spite of it. And this is what makes Stoicism powerful. It does not demand perfection. It demands practice. Every day is a chance to sharpen your mind against the weapon of overthinking. Every day is a chance to act a little sooner, a little braver, a little truer. You may wonder, will it ever get easy? The Stoics would say no, but you will get stronger. Life will never stop presenting you with uncertainty, fear, and obstacles. But once you embrace the rules, you stop expecting life to be easy. You stop waiting for comfort. You stop hoping for certainty. Instead, you accept reality as it is and you act anyway. And in this way, the weight of hesitation no longer crushes you. Instead, it becomes the very thing that strengthens you. The more you act, the less you overthink. The less you overthink, the freer you become. Freedom is not the absence of struggle. It is the courage to meet struggle without fear. So now, in this moment, you stand at a crossroads. One path is the same path you have always taken. The path of hesitation, of safety, of endless what-ifs. That path leads only to regret. The other path is the Stoic path, harsh, demanding but filled with clarity and strength. That path leads to freedom, to courage, to a life lived fully before death arrives. Which path you choose is not decided tomorrow or next week or someday in the future. It is decided right now in this very moment. Will you act or will you delay? The Stoics would remind you of the choice in the simplest terms. You cannot control tomorrow, you cannot change the past, but you can command this moment. Overthinking dies when you seize this moment and live it with courage. That is all you truly have, and it is enough. Remember, hesitation is easy. Action is hard, but only action creates a life worth living. So stop waiting. Stop circling. Stop dying slowly in thought. Choose action. Choose clarity. Choose the Stoic way. Life does not wait for you to finish thinking. It moves on with or without your permission. The reason most people stay trapped in overthinking is because they secretly believe they have unlimited time. They tell themselves that one more day of planning, one more day of thinking, one more day of waiting will make them ready. But the Stoics ripped away this illusion. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning that he could die that very day. Seneca wrote that life is long enough if you use it well, but most people waste it in hesitation. And Epictetus taught that every choice is a test of whether you are master of your mind or a slave to it. Overthinking is the sign of slavery. It shows that your fears command you, that your doubts hold the leash. Action is freedom. Every step forward, even a flawed one, is a declaration that you refuse to live as a prisoner. You must understand that the mind's nature is to produce thoughts endlessly, like a river that never stops flowing. But not every thought deserves attention. Most of what you think about is noise, stories your mind invents, fears it exaggerates, scenarios that will never come true. The Stoics called this fantasia, the impressions that appear in the mind. They warned against believing every impression. Instead, they urged the discipline to test each thought. Is it useful? Is it true? Is it in my control? If not, discard it. Overthinking is simply the failure to discard. You keep every thought, you polish it, you feed it, until it grows into something that controls you. The harsh Stoic rule is this: treat your thoughts like guests. Some are welcome, most must be shown the door. If you cannot do this, your mind will remain crowded and your life will remain stuck. The great tragedy of overthinking is not that you fail, but that you never even try. A man who acts and fails can still learn, still adapt, still rise again. But a man who only thinks remains in the same place year after year, while life passes him by. Seneca said it best: we suffer more in imagination than in reality. That is the truth overthinkers never face. They suffer the pain of failure 1,000 times in their mind, but never once in reality. And because of that, they rob themselves of growth. The Stoic answer is brutal but freeing. Fail in reality rather than suffer endlessly in imagination. A real scar is better than 1,000 imaginary wounds. The final reminder the Stoics give us is death. Remember that you will die. This is not meant to depress you, but to awaken you. Every wasted day is gone forever. Every hour lost to useless circles of thought is an hour you will never see again. You're not promised tomorrow. Overthinking assumes you will always have more time. But time is the one thing you do not control. If you knew you had only 1 year left to live, would you still be stuck asking the same questions, doubting the same decisions, replaying the same fears? Or would you finally act? The truth is, you already live under that condition. You just do not know the exact number of days. So why waste the ones you do have? This is the Stoic way: to live with urgency, to act with courage, to strip away what is useless and keep only what is essential. Stop rehearsing your life in your head. Stop waiting for certainty. Stop being a slave to fear. You already know what you must do. You already know what action calls to you. The only question is whether you will keep betraying yourself by delaying, or whether you will finally live as the Stoics demanded, in harmony with reason, in alignment with courage, and with every moment treated as if it could be your last. The mind will always try to drag you back into overthinking, but now you know the truth. Overthinking is death disguised as thought, and action is life in its purest form. Choose life. Choose action. Choose to be free.